The first movie was a great achievement. So what happened to the second one? Join us today as we try to fix Wonder Woman 1984 and see if we can make it any better.
Your time will come, Diana. This world is not yet ready for all that you will do.
Steve. Diana, look at you. It's like not one day has passed. The world needs you. You can save the world.
This is Fantasy Picks Movie Edition, the podcast that takes a look at overhyped big-budget tentpole movies that failed at the box office or with critics, and in some occasions they succeed with both, but not with the hardcore fans. I'm your host, Robert Mota. Joining me today we have Patrick Reilly, Frank Rodriguez, and Mark Kirkman. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome, man. So our subject today is going to be Wonder Woman 1984. And so, guys, what's your experience and what's your relationship with this character? Growing up or whatever it is. I mean, how do you guys
remember
feel about remember this
introduced?
character and and the legend, and basically the amount of content that is out there, especially in the comic book world. What is it with you guys that you remember or you guys like about this character?
I'll step up.
Okay.
Growing up, my cousin was very into DC, so I was familiar with Wonder Woman. It wasn't like I was a huge fan, but at once I was familiar with her, and then we saw the TV series, which I'm sure a lot of people got their first exposure to Wonder Woman using with Linda Carter,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always a secondary character. Right? It wasn't the top three. It wasn't Batman. It wasn't Superman. It wasn't even Aquaman.
Well,
Even though
remember that in the Justice League, the Trinity, what they call the Trinity, is actually Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're doing like the cartoons and stuff like that back in the day, the Super Friends, there were a lot of other characters that were in there. And me personally, even though Aquaman really sucks now, I would always be like, yo, check out Aquaman riding that giant seahorse in the beginning of the show. That looks awesome.
Really? Because I never looked at it that way. I thought the only time Aquaman ever became cool to me was with fucking Jason Momoa, where I was like, there we go, finally.
Yeah.
I was young. I was misguided.
How about you, Patrick?
Well, same thing. I mean, I used to read some of the Superman and Batman comics when I was younger, but I was never per se. I wouldn't say I was. I mean, I liked Wonder Woman. I liked what she did in the comics and stuff, but I never went out and bought the Wonder Woman comics. I would always see her as a guest appearing in the Superman comics or in the Batman comics, which was great. She was great in that. And then just like Frank, there was a 1970s TV show with Linda Carter, which I occasionally watch. And for some reason I was confused because I remember half the show took place in World War II. And then suddenly it switched over to modern era and they were still the same age. And I was kind of confused. I must have missed an episode or two there, but that's my experience with Wonder Woman when I was growing up.
And you, Mark?
Actually, just like Frank and Patrick, my experience goes with a little bit of the comics because my sisters are older. So they would have her just coming in, but I didn't really read them. I only saw her on the covers and stuff. But my first experience with it would be between Challenge of the Super Friends cartoon along with the 1975 to 1979 series with Linda Carter.
Right.
Now, obviously, that's where every boy's infatuation with a woman that just looks like that comes from.
And,
You gotta love
wants their
Linda Carter.
girlfriend to dress up in the same, costume or something like that.
Yeah, do a cosplay for me. Not the Princess Leia outfit. Get me the Wonder Woman, and you
Right.
tie me up with the lasso.
Yeah, the lasso.
I always loved the challenges of Super Friends. Now, obviously, I didn't geared more towards Aquaman, and the Big Bang Theory actually pointed that out when you had a bunch of. It's like,
Right.
the Hindi guy on there is like, oh man, I don't want to be Aquaman.
Right.
Yeah, my experience with Wonder Woman was basically that it was more of the Super Friends.
Yeah.
And of course, when Wonder Woman came out on TV with Linda Carter, everybody fell in love with her. I mean, first of all, gorgeous woman. And the outfit, she was a voluptuous woman, so it made her, stand out and stuff like that, which I thought was very much what a lot of boys back then remember being her, being very sexy and everything. And even to this day, I mean, when you look at her, she is still a stunning woman.
Right.
But yeah, so it's a very interesting character. Of course, us growing up, with our age in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, we were kind of like, okay, you know what? She's a girl superhero. And sometimes they painted her that way. When you look at more of Wonder Woman nowadays, you're looking at a very assertive, very confident woman, one that can actually don't fucking mess with her, of course, but one that can actually, stand toe to toe with Superman. And we're okay with that. I mean, it's great. I mean, I started collecting comic books about 2 years ago again, after decades of not collecting. And I collected some Wonder Woman stuff and some, because I was always a Marvel person. And I know some of you guys were, always Marvel. I didn't like DC at all. But in the last 2 years, I've gotten into DC a lot. And her characters have been great. As a matter of fact, they came up with a new character, Yara Flor, which she's actually from Brazil, from the Amazon, where the Amazon women come from, right?
Yeah.
And of course, in the comic book, they have her, sometimes speaking Portuguese, but she looks exactly like, you would have somebody from Brazil come from, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And she's actually the way they wrote her, great freaking character. I mean, I love that character a lot. Sometimes even better than the regular Wonder Woman. But that being said, a lot of Wonder Woman, I feel that throughout the years, I don't know if the writers of this movie that we're going to cover even looked at some of that stuff. I think it was history, the history and stuff like that. Yeah, but just so we or whoever doesn't know who Wonder Woman is or anything like that. So Wonder Woman was created by William Moulton Marston.
Dr. William,
yeah. First introduced in 1941, is a beloved superhero and from DC. As Princess Diana of Themyscira, she was sculpted from clay given by the Greek gods, raised as an Amazonian warrior. On the secluded island of Themyscira, Wonder Woman developed exceptional combat skills and supernatural abilities, including strength, agility, and the powerful lasso of truth. Here's the interesting part of that. So, for those who didn't know, William Moulton Marston was a very unique.
Here we go.
Yep. Well, there's a movie about this, ladies and gentlemen, and
he's a very
We're all
unique.
aware.
Yeah, he's a very unique kind of guy. First of all, I mean, kudos to him. He actually was in a polygamous relationship, which both women,
polyamorous.
Yeah, polyamorous. Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
And with both women were just, it's like, okay, sure,
yeah, that's cool.
we'll be with him. But the one thing that was actually criticized about Wonder Woman was its early sexualization. In her early comic book appearance, Wonder Woman was depicted as, or in a way that some critics consider sexually objectifying. So a lot of the things that you especially see is a lot of bondage and submission type of things. It's kind of crazy The use of the rope and the lasso of truth, which compelled truthfulness, had BDSM undertones.
In my view, though, the crazier part of it is that this is all happening in basically the 1940s.
Correct.
Yes.
And I'm surprised there wasn't more of an uproar.
Yeah.
Well, as her character, because everything depends on the writers in DC, as her character got developed, a lot of people took different avenues with her. So when she first came out, they first said that, oh, you know, the sexualization about her and her outfit and how it was in the 40s, right? And they, of course, try to fix that, you know, over time. But then I would say in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s, let's be honest, man. Some of these comic book artists, they have drawn some of these women that they barely have any fucking outfit on them. And Wonder Woman was one of them. I mean, listen, my favorite artist of all time, his name is Adam Hughes.
Adam Hughes.
Yeah, Adam Hughes.
Adam Hughes. And that man draws Wonder Woman in such a sexy way. And he does it with Catwoman. He does it with Black Cat. But that's his thing, because he has more of a pinup style to him. And so, but when he draws them, very sexual looking. Same thing with Jim Lee. Same thing with who's another good artist out there. I mean, they're tons of good. Yeah. So the thing is that, you know, when they say that she was drawn that way, when you look at her back in the 40s, she looked tame compared to the shit that you see nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, but the undertones was very interesting because, yeah, they always said that, you know, William Marston was more into like the S&M kind of thing. And not only that, but here's the interesting thing about it. One, he invented the lie detector. So the lasso of truth, which he came up with in the story, was something that he invented because of the lie detector that he invented. I don't know. I forgot whether the lie detector came first or that came after he did the
chicken and the egg.
Yeah. So yeah, very interesting character on that. Let's start with this movie. I mean, the people responsible for this, of course, directed by Patty Jenkins, screenplay by Patty Jenkins, Jeff Johns, Dave Callahan, story by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, right? Music by Hans Zimmer, which is great. This movie got released in December 25th, 2020, and out of a budget of $200 million, only made $169.6 million. So this has a 58% on Rotten Tomato. Audience score in Rotten Tomatoes a little higher with 73%, but still not up there, but 58, that's pretty bad. The cast on this is Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, Pedro Pascal, who has been on fire lately. Robin Wright and Connie Nielsen. This movie actually got 3 awards.
Razzies.
2 in the Razzies: worst remake, rip-off, or sequel, and of course, worst supporting actress, Kristen Wiig. It got a Nickelodeon's award for favorite movie, and then of course, Screen Actors Guild Award for outstanding performance by a stunt ensemble in a motion picture. Not sure how, you know, but yeah. So that's about it. Everything else, it kind of failed at. Let's talk about these scenes because yes, you're right. The opening scene, the film begins with a flashback of a young Diana participating in a competition in Themyscira. Right. I personally, I mean, while it looked pretty cool, and at first I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like that. It had nothing to do with the story after that. That is,
I'm gonna challenge you on that one.
Really? Okay. Absolutely. Awesome. Because to me,
I feel the same way too, Frank.
Yeah, to me, it seemed like, why are you showing me something that has not, unless you're going to bring
some of these... lesson learned at the end of the...
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lesson that's taught. First
that we do see later on in the film.
Right. If you pay attention to it, she looks back. And the reason why she gets knocked off her horse is because she's not paying attention to what's ahead of her. So I had that. That's one lesson there.
Yeah.
But also when her aunt grabs her as she's just about to win,
she cheated.
But she basically did it by cheating.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's like you cannot win by compromising your morals. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they were trying to teach her. And that's what ends up happening. She tries to win by keeping Steve Trevor and his
Yeah.
spirit basically taking over this guy's body.
Well, her wants over
Right.
what is
She wants
right.
it. And she's
Yeah.
willing to give up her power.
Yeah.
To
Exactly.
do that.
Yeah. I just want to add also, just to go with Rob on this, because I can understand where Rob is coming from, where he didn't see quite a connection, even though there was a lesson to be learned there. Well, Diana learned her lesson that later is brought up in the film. There's not a strong enough connection there for her to, to make that lesson such a major point in the movie. You know what I'm saying? It's just, they
didn't basically throw it out there for the audience to see, but that was reflecting.
Yeah, like
for...
what would have been the benefit and the downside of keeping Steve Trevor and stuff, because it's kind of like cheating, but not quite, and it's kind of I don't know. It was just kind of wishy-washy a little bit,
Well, the issue
cheating
at
that
hand,
guy of his life, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the issue at hand with this particular scene, Patty Jenkins had to really go to bat to get this scene put in, because it's literally the only scene where it's all women. And I forget what the name of the test is, but there's no talk about men. There's no mention of men. It's just women talking to women about women things or what they're involved with at that moment, without having any male counterparts. But she went to bat on it because she wanted that in there, and this was shoehorned in after they completed the films, and they did a complete edit, and they did a test screening online. And she goes, well, let's put it in and then see what people like. But they couldn't go back to do reshoots to clarify that for this particular scene to be in there.
Right. Well, the next one is the mall fight. So the mall fight, definitely. So for those of us who grew up in the 70s
and the 80s
and the 80s, yeah, because it takes place in the 80s.
These mega malls.
84.
I'm going a little further back than I should have. But yes, for those of us growing up in the 80s, there was a lot of nostalgic stuff where I was seeing that was like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember the 80s being that way. I remember the way people were dressing, which honestly I think is one of what I would call America's most embarrassing decade. With the way
not when you were living during that decade.
Not when you were
exactly right.
Not when you were living during that decade, and if you actually lived in Miami and tried to dress like like Miami Vice, you were okay. Try to do that now when people
tell us all about the Z Cavaricis.
And wearing shoes with no socks.
But it's
t-shirt under a blazer.
Yeah, exactly. But nowadays, when you see it, it's kind of a nostalgic thing and things like that. But for me, for a woman who there's a lot of discrepancies with this movie, and for a woman who said that she isolated herself from the human race for a long time. No, this is not isolating yourself from the human race. You are in full fucking outfit in a mall.
Which, it takes away from that whole Snyderverse conversation she had with Batman, Bruce Wayne. So at this point, she's out there, she's playing the Spider-Man to the world, saving these people. They don't know how to identify her. She doesn't make announcements. She just comes, and they said there's several incidences within the Washington D.C. area. So, and that's where we have that issue and discrepancy, which they could have just taken out that scene.
Right.
And then
I don't know. I don't think it's really that much of a discrepancy, in that we have to remember that we're talking about the period between when she loses Steve Trevor in World War I and then 1984. So there could be a really long stretch where she was not involved.
Yeah, but according to Batman versus Superman, she said that she isolated herself from the human race for like 60 something years, or if not more. So the fact that she came out in 1984 and she was well known or whatever, or people's, and what she said in that movie just don't make add up.
It doesn't click together.
No, it doesn't click together.
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't World War I like in 1914?
It was in 1917, so there could have been 60 years, and she still would have been coming in around 1977 back into society, and still had good 8 years to know everybody and get
Right,
So
but
it
while that-
technically is possible. So
Well, while that's true,
Yeah.
on
the world doesn't know
Batman
about
versus
her.
Superman, when
Yeah.
she all of a sudden comes around, all of a sudden Batman or Superman goes, "Is she with you?" And he's like, "I thought she was with you," because no one knows who the fuck this woman is. So if she is famous, I'm sure, especially Batman, who is the person who fucking likes to know who every superhero and every bad guy is out there, because he wants to have a contingency plan for everybody. I'm sure he would have said, "Oh, I know of this woman."
Right.
Yeah, but she took out all the cameras.
Right.
Oh yeah, that
So
works.
he didn't have nothing to go with.
What about the Polaroids?
Yeah.
It is 1984.
Well, I just wanted to add a couple of things on the mall scene. First of all, you had the very beginning intro, which was the competition on the mascara, which was kind of it wasn't campy. It was very kind of serious, and she had a lesson to learn, and she learned it. But then when it switched over to 1984, though, the entire mall scene was very campy, very like tongue in cheek,
right?
Which kind of didn't sit well with me. It kind of reminded me of Superman 2. The intro on that, remember, it has a real campy scene in the beginning during the credits where it shows a comedic scene with like montage in the very beginning during the credits, and it kind of reminded me of that. And
of him going to work, right?
Yeah, I think it is. It's him going to work, and there was like a lot of slapstick and stuff. But
that was
some
Superman
reason,
3.
Yeah, no, there was one in Superman 2 in the very beginning. I can't remember where it was, but it kind of worked in Superman 2. It didn't work for me in this. It was just a little over the top and a little pretentious, and a little,
they're trying to marvel it up with certain scenes,
right?
Yeah,
with the humor, and that's the problem. DC is trying to.
They're like, how come they can make it work with the humor and we can't?
Right.
Even with Pedro Pascal's character, very humorous as an easygoing person.
Right.
He was almost like a neurotic.
The mall, and it's funny how the mall fight, and I guess things have changed from 1984 to Zack Snyder's Justice League, because while she was trying to beat up on all these guys, she wasn't killing anybody. In what is it, Zack Snyder's Justice League, when she saved all the kids in that museum, there was one that she tossed towards a wall and left a splatter of fucking blood. So she had no problems killing fucking people in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But before that, I guess during that time, that span, she's like, "Fuck this, man. People just suck."
Well, you have to realize with the Snyderverse too, that it would take him from Man of Steel as well, where Superman blatantly puts people in jeopardy in that movie, and versus Zod's laser eye blast to go towards people and kill buildings and kill other people in the process.
No, that's true. I mean, I just think that we'll get into what happened with this movie, because that's going to be also a topic on that.
Something that I think we should also bring up is the first Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Like how good
that was
first Wonder Woman was.
They totally switched.
I took my wife Tina.
Yeah,
I took my wife Tina to go see it, and halfway through the movie, my wife is not really into like superhero movies and things like that. But literally halfway through the movie, she says to me, she looks, "This is amazing." You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's high praise for my wife.
Yeah, but that's because it was written by Jeff Johns, and Patty Jenkins did not write it, I believe. I think she just directed it, and of course there was I think a lot of input from Zack Snyder too on that. This one, we'll get into that in just a moment. Yeah. So Maxwell Lord's introduction. So Pedro Pascal, charismatic, portrayal of the film villain, Maxwell Lord is a mess.
Richard Pryor.
His introduction at a party where he tries to charm Barbara Minerva. We'll get into her in just a moment. Sets the stage for how he manipulates that character's arc. And throughout the entire film, Maxwell Lord's son, Alistair, is present, but often seems to be an afterthought. The exact purpose and significance of his character within the story were unclear. And his presence felt disconnected from the main narrative. So like that whole thing just, first of all, I think Maxwell Lord was a horrible fucking character.
Yeah, I agree.
They could have done the movie without him completely.
Yeah.
When we go into discussion.
The thing is
definitely.
The thing is that in the comic book, he is more...
He's a good character.
He in some cases, because he's got like depending on what era DC has changed, because DC had the New 52, and then they had Infinite Crisis and all these things. Depending on that, depends on this character. But the character has always been a likable, kind of charming character. More like and he's like more of like a billionaire industrialist or something like that, compared to what this guy is. This guy is just a mess.
Yeah.
And I just felt like Pedro Pascal, they must have told him, it's like, look, here's your check. And he went, wow, okay, awesome. And just playing whichever way you think. And he just said, fuck it, I'm just going to have fun with this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't understand the motivation behind a lot of the things he did. It's just like he almost had like a revenge motivation, but then I'm like, what exactly drove him to this? What's going on with this guy? Yeah.
His failure drove him to his revenge.
His motivation for everything is all over the place. Because at first he wanted to get rich.
Yeah.
Then he wanted to get power
over everybody,
and control the entire world. And then on top of that, after that, it was like, I'm going to try to suck the life force out of everybody. So basically you are destroying the entire world. You're trying to, and like, he seems like he loves his son very much, but you are willing to have Russia and the United States start a nuclear war. That didn't make sense, because it's like, dude, you're a person that seems to be very protective of your son, but yet you are going to try to start a war and destroy the world. That's not protecting your son.
I was just going to say, I'm wondering if his motivation was altered because of, was there a scene in there mentioning the wishing stone?
Yeah.
Probably affected him in some way, but because it kind of did the same thing to Cheetah, but it wasn't made. I don't think it was made clear. I don't know. Maybe I missed it or something.
It wasn't. It was very passive. That's the problem.
Exactly right. They did put in there that every civilization that had come across the stone, which I call the penis stone because that's what it looks like to me.
Really? That's a very sharp penis.
Hey, they all are.
We're not going to talk about penises right now. Come on.
Okay, no, wait, that's fine.
Very phallic symbol. Okay.
So they did put in there that every civilization that comes in contact with this thing does the same thing. They start making wishes, and it eventually leads to them destroying themselves as a civilization because they're not willing to give up the things that they get from their wishes. So that kind of made me feel like the fact that he made himself that stone and he's granting those wishes, you could see he was deteriorating because he kept saying, I need my vitamins. He's got headaches all the time. And,
headaches and bloody noses and all that.
Yeah, but we're talking about a MacGuffin that didn't come out in the comic. This was invented for this movie. This never came out in the comic books. So it was just something that just didn't make sense, especially wishes, really. But talking about wishes, Diana's wishes, after obtaining a mystical, the mystical artifact called the Dreamstone, Diana wishes for her long dead lover, Steve Trevor, to return. And after making a wish, Diana starts losing her powers gradually. Of course, yes, because she wanted, Steve Trevor. However, the rules and limitations surrounding the loss of her powers are inconsistent.
Right.
Some viewers found it confusing to understand why certain actions caused her to lose powers while others did not, leading to inconsistencies in the entire film's internal logic. So it's true. It's one of those things where you see her all of a sudden having certain kind of powers, and you're like, all right, she's back. And then all of a sudden, she's, deteriorating somewhere else.
She can't undo a lock or rip off a lock in one part of the movie, but yet she can kick over a tank.
Correct.
Yeah. And outrun some trucks.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, but hey, as you lose your power, remember that your hair and makeup also look like shit. I don't know about you. I don't know how is it that's like, so how is it that Wonder Woman, she could be fighting, I don't know, the biggest villains in the world, and she still looks phenomenal, but all of a sudden she starts to lose her powers, and she's losing also, her the hairspray in her hair.
I don't know. It must be the same thing Superman uses to keep that curl on his head, that little curl.
I just chalk it up.
On Man of Steel, he never had the curl.
Yeah, that is true. I chalk it up with this being like the Superman 3 and the Superman 4 writing issues and filming issues that they had.
Is that on the list?
Talking about Diana's wish, so Barbara Minerva's transformation initially portrayed her as a nerdy, insecure character and transforms into this powerful, confident cheetah. However, the sudden shift in her personality and appearance, as well as the mechanics behind her transformation, were not fully explained or explored, leaving some viewers wanting more clarity. So, one, this is not the character of Cheetah. So, Barbara Minerva is in the comic books an evil, sadistic bitch from the very beginning. And she's an archaeologist. This trope of the nerdy person that nobody wants to give him attention, and then and she's she wants the attention of guys. It just seemed like that seemed like something from I don't know, creative writing 101.
Exactly. Yeah, Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Yeah.
Unseen.
Yeah. So it was just like the fact that she said, make me an apex predator the way the world has never seen. I'm like, guess what? That's not a cheetah. A cheetah is not an apex predator. All right. If you want an apex predator, how the world has never seen, if you're looking at current animals now, they are a enormous amount of animals out there that are actually scary when it comes to, how vicious they are compared to a cheetah.
Yeah.
So that was a line when
she didn't become a honey badger.
Huh?
She's lucky she didn't become a honey badger.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, come on.
And then going with like the description, an apex predator that this world has never seen. It could be the Predator from the Predator franchise. Too.
Exactly. Or she could have been transformed into a fucking T-Rex or whatever it is. So it was a line.
Wonder Woman versus Predator.
Exactly. It was a line. And actually, the character is supposed to be very sexual from the very beginning.
Yes.
Which she's not. And so what they did was they try to make her sexual, but then it was like, then as she got converted into a cheetah in the original source material, normally when she converts into a cheetah, she still looks like very sexual and sexy. In this, it was just a transformation into a cat.
Right.
Bad CG cat too.
Bad CG cat too. So the reversal of Steve Trevor's return. After Steve Trevor is resurrected in another man's body, Diana and Steve engage in a romantic relationship. However, this raises ethical concerns that it essentially involves Steve taking over someone else's life without their consent.
I had a lot of issues with this.
Right. Yeah. So this plot point troubled some viewers and seem inconsistency with Diana's values. And I find that
goes back to the lesson.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, but there was no lesson. There was no lesson in the beginning of the movie saying, "Listen, by the way, it's okay to rape somebody else."
Yeah, he'll wake up going, "Why?
You didn't hear that part? Hang on.
Why am I really sore? Because that woman worked me so hard that I gotta."
That's the
you
other.
Recognize your truth.
It's not just that the rape thing. It's like they took over a guy's body for like a week or something.
Right.
For a week.
I woke up and said, "What the hell happened? What kind of hangover was I in?"
Right. Yeah. So the thing is that come on. First of all, if you are Wonder Woman, you should have said at some point, "Oh, this is wrong. I understand he's in that body, but we can't do anything to this body." She didn't think of any of that. She just said, "Fuck the person who was used to be. As long as I have Steve Trevor, that's all I care about." Which is it just seems like such the opposite of who she's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of problems with this scene, specifically what you just meant. First of all, who came up with the concept? I mean, they could have just had Steve Trevor appear out of nowhere. Who came up with the concept
in the
of
entire movie? There were people appearing and disappearing. So why couldn't he appear?
Exactly. That's one of the problems I had. They had this whole Heaven Can Wait thing. I don't know if any guys remember that movie, Heaven Can Wait, where it's basically he took over somebody else's body. They brought him back to Earth and stuff. And I don't know why they came up with that concept for it. And it's such a bizarre concept. They don't explain it, why that's the way it has to be, that you have to take over somebody's existing body.
Correct.
Yeah,
they could have just made it just like a genie's wish, and they just appear.
Right.
Yeah, he just shows up or something, or appears out of nowhere.
And you don't get the moral thing, right? You don't get the quandary that she has to make the decision: do I stay with Steve Trevor and steal this other person's life?
But that never came up. You have to understand that never came up in the movie. It was never ever shown that I understand I have to give him up, one, because this world is turning into, or I'm losing my powers.
Yeah.
And two, you're inhabiting the body of this person that we don't know what happened to his consciousness. None of that was addressed. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The
And
problem
what
is that
happens to his job when he can't go to work for over a week?
Right.
He gets fired for no call, no shows.
Well,
Exactly.
The whole world is going crazy.
Yeah, I know. I understand what Frank's saying about the moral issue and everything.
Yeah,
but
the ethical issue,
there's other things they could have done to squeeze that in there. I mean, there's other things. I mean, with a decent writing team, you could have done that.
Yeah,
and it's still they didn't even bother explaining in the film why he had to be in somebody else's body. That's still
exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the implications of the entire thing and how that actually affected the person that was in there. None of that was ever addressed. And in the very end, you see the guy on the
he's
street.
Just like nothing happened. You know, it's just like.
Now, here's what gets me. She smiles at him, and in my mind, I'm going, "Bitch, you just raped this man, and you're smiling. You should be going, oh fuck, I'm getting out of here because I did something wrong." But instead, it was just like, "Hey, thank you for the dick." You know, and I'm sorry to be saying it that way, but it just seems like imagine if we reverse those roles and it was
forget it.
And it was a woman that got taken over and the man is my God, the world would lose their shit. But because it was a woman, it was okay. And according to Patty Jenkins, it's like, oh, it was a body swap. There was no body swap. We don't know what happened to the original person.
Wait. So if it's a body swap, that means that guy's dead now for like a week.
Exactly, because he returned to the explosion.
Well, that's not quite right, because when he comes back, she saw him as the other guy in the very beginning. Remember?
Yeah,
he saw him as the other guy, and then he slowly transformed, and then
it
was mentioned it was mentioned in there that to everyone else he looks like the other guy, but only to her he looks like Steve Trevor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Whatever.
That's what the scriptwriters were saying. They were like, whatever.
Wonder Woman. They'll buy it.
They're going to see it.
Wonder Woman is a rapist. Okay, so invisible.
Don't say that to Gal Gadot.
Invisible jet. So in one scene, Diana utilizes her newly acquired abilities to turn objects invisible to make a jet invisible. First of all, that's not an ability that she has in the comic books.
No.
Right. So, and while it's an iconic moment paying homage to the invisible jet from the comics, the sudden introduction of this power and its successful execution seem abrupt and illogical. Yeah, it was just kind of crazy. The sequence
they just to make an excuse that they can make it happen within the movie.
They did try to give a reason why it was
invisible.
They said that Themyscira was hidden by Zeus using this particular spell, and she had only been she'd been trying to do it, but she'd only been able to do it once.
And she still can't find her coffee cup.
Part of her powers, dude. That's like saying, hey, Superman. That's like saying Superman all of a sudden can actually, I don't know, teleport.
Or procreate, because his sperm will just shoot through.
They've already established in the first movie that she has the powers of Zeus.
Well, it's like, just to be fair, I remember. Do you guys remember in Superman 2 there was a scene with Superman versus General Zod, and remember he replicated himself. He made different versions of himself.
Right.
And, it's like they were like holograms. I'm like, I don't know if
he also made the big S on his chest.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Remember, he threw the giant S off. He ripped it off and threw it at them. I'm like, I don't remember that power. Superman having that power.
Yeah,
so
this was one of the part of his costume. Yeah.
So here's another thing about the jet, right? Yeah. So the jet they use does not exist in real life. So it is based off of the Tornado, which is a British jet that, of course, the British had in their Air Force. It's a tandem sitting jet. That means that there's somebody in the front, somebody in the back. In this one, they made it side by side, which I was like, that's me being, a plane enthusiast. I was like, wait a minute, that plane does not exist and it doesn't have that, right? So, but I was like, okay. But this fucking jet that's in a museum was fully fueled
and ready to go.
Ready to go. That did not make sense. That was the other one.
And it's behind the Smithsonian, which is not right in proper world or real world.
No,
Washington,
behind the
DC.
Smithsonian, behind the Smithsonian, there are airplanes outside in the tarmac that are still part of the exhibit, but none of them
are functional,
prep to run. Yeah.
Oh, and that tarmac is not even usable to be used too, because Michael had told me because he worked in DC in government.
Right. But the thing,
it's like a total it's like a total Transformers, remember?
Yeah.
They did the same thing in that with the Smithsonian and made it look like, oh, okay, this Transformer has always been here as a
yeah, exactly.
That's a plot point that they had.
I mean, trust me, we'll get to Transformer movies at some other episode.
More pain.
Yeah, but the thing is about this plane from DC to Cairo, it's 58. It's a little bit over 5,800 miles. The Tornado, the airplane, its maximum distance will be 1/3 of that, and it takes at going probably, I don't know, Mach 1 or Mach 2 or whatever it is, it still takes about 3 to 4 hours to get there.
Invisibility magic makes you go faster. Damn it.
No, it cannot. Okay, because it's just all it's doing is bending light. The physics are still there. That being said, that part was just lazy fucking writing, in my opinion, because they didn't have to make it into a real world airplane. Make up some shit. Say, hey, you know what? Themyscira, we have our own airplane. I don't know, whatever the fuck it is.
They could have just made a fictional airplane. I mean, they could have just made it's a DC universe. They could have had like special planes that the military uses that were sitting on a tarmac that are experimental planes that no one knows about. And it would have
do something like that.
Say, as a cameo, say, hey, I stole this from Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, there you go. That would have been perfect. Actually,
that would have been great if it was like instead of it being the Smithsonian, it could have been like the Thomas Wayne Museum or something like that. Then sure, I'll take that. And then I thought, well, what planes, what fighter jets were actually out there that were tandem seating? And one of them is the F-111, the Aardvark.
Right, that's what I was
actually has. They could have used that.
Yeah,
I would have been fine.
F-111,
yeah, I would have been like, all right, sure, but no, they went ahead and took a plane that does not really. I don't know. To me, that it's a nitpick, but it's a nitpick because since I know what airplanes, especially fighter airplanes, I know them.
This is some super nerd shit, man.
This is some super nerd shit that just kind of and it's funny because I fell into that as soon as I was watching. I was like, this is only some shit that I would notice. Nobody else gives a shit. But
I noticed it too. Air Force ROTC.
Yeah, but it bothers me. And not only that, but then they're like, oh, she calls Minerva from Cairo. And then all of a sudden she's there like in 30 minutes. And she goes, oh, that was fast. Hold on a minute. First of all,
steal a Blackbird, man.
First of all, you had a plane that really doesn't have that distance. Wouldn't you have to actually now refuel the airplane to go back?
Right.
And it should still take
finding that gas tank.
Right. So it should still take you several hours. No, she was just, I'm back half an hour later. I'm like, did you go through a time warp? So these are the things that I was just like, this is lazy fucking writing. So
the refueling was a deleted scene, actually.
And that wormhole effect.
Yeah, exactly.
So the film ends with a poignant scene where Diana lets go of her wish and says goodbye to Steve. So this scene makes Diana seem weak by saying she will never love again. That's something that you just get from a lovesick teenager, not someone that's supposed to be over six, lose a man that was 60 years ago. I mean, if you think about it, like, oh, I'll never love again. I'm like, first, you're supposed to be Wonder Woman. You're supposed to be a strong, confident woman. And all of a sudden you basically got broken down to a little lovesick teenager. Second of all, it's 60 years. Fucking get over it.
Go to Chippendales for one night. It'll make your world.
All right. I mean, get over it, man. All right. He died.
Especially the way guys were just like simping over her like every time he turned around.
Yeah. So just fucking move on.
Or even Minerva.
Yeah, right.
Look at Minerva.
Right. She was
all over her.
I had an issue with the way they dispatched Steve, man. She just left him standing around the corner and just went around the corner. He was just like kind of vanished behind a corner, and that was
all the chaos happening too. He could have died.
Think about
that guy.
Think about that. All you heard was "I will always love you," and that's it. And it's like, oh, so you're not even going to show, like, let's say
what does he do? Does he walk back to that other guy's apartment and goes back and just like stays there and just vanish and just like?
Did the other guy just go, how the fuck did I end up over here?
The Hangover 4.
Not only that, it's like, wait a minute. Not only how did I end up over here, but how the fuck is that the world's ending? What part did I miss of all this?
Exactly. Why is there so much
the
chaos
best
in the
angle
street?
forever.
Why does that guy have a gun and it's pointed at me? I'm gonna
Exactly.
die.
So these are the things that it was just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I came up with 5 things that did not work for this movie. One, pacing issues. So Wonder Woman 1984 suffers from pacing problems, particularly in the first half of the film.
That's on my list.
Yeah, some scenes drag on too long, while others feel very rushed, which can make the movie feel disjointed.
Yeah.
So that's one of them there. 2, the lack of strong villains. Honestly, the film's antagonist, Maxwell Lord, is not as compelling or memorable as some of the other villains in superhero genres. So while Pedro Pascal's performance is strong, the character lacks depth and can come across as cartoonish at times, which is
right.
I mean,
just his
I
prep.
think he was going for that.
No, but it's also his prep for the movie The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage, because that character is just as loopy and loony.
Yeah, but I think Nicolas Cage could get away with it because...
No, I'm talking about Pedro Pascal.
Oh, because I was going to say Nicolas Cage is loony in real life anyway. So.
No. I meant about Pedro's Pascal's character in that movie. He was just as obsessive and crazy in that, especially the way he acted. So he was probably in the midst of doing both movies at the same time.
Yeah, that's.
I just don't think they fleshed out this character well enough, and I don't think the director even knew what to do with the characters. So
the
I
hair
don't know.
didn't work for me either with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, that was kind of bizarre.
So inconsistencies with the first film. So Wonder Woman 1984 takes place several decades after the first events of the first film, but some aspects of the story don't line up with what was established in the previous film.
So that really is a reference to the TV series, how they jumped from 1940s Wonder Woman for the first season and then changed it quickly to current day 1975, 77 with Steve Trevor and whatever her
is that what happened in the TV show? I don't remember. I didn't see the transition. It is what happened.
They didn't do a transition. They just literally changed it from one season to the very next season because they felt
no explanation or nothing. So it wasn't just me.
Felt they'd lost a lot of the fan base, and they were like, "How could we keep this up?" And then people wanted more of a modern day edge to it, so that's how they did it.
So over-reliance on special effects. So while the special effects in Wonder Woman 1984 in some scenes are impressive, the film feels a little like it's more concerned about showcasing these effects than telling a cohesive story. This makes the action sequences feel hollow and unsatisfying. Case in point, a lot of the things, especially the wishes, I was like, oh, I wish for like a wall to go up, or I wish like, you know, or she's... What is it? She's taking the lasso and lassoing fucking lightning bulbs and all this stuff. Like come on, man. I mean, and first of all, there were just certain things that got put in there just for like, oh, I think people will like this more than does it really serve the story and make sense? And that's what I thought on that. So and then number 5, lack of, of course, character development. So while Gal Gadot's performance is excellent, the other characters in the film don't receive as much attention or development. So this can make it difficult for the audience to care about their fates, which undermines the emotional impact of the story. Some viewers found the motivations of certain characters, particularly Barbara Minerva and Maxwell Lord, to be unclear and undeveloped. The transition and shifts in their motivation and actions throughout the entire movie were perceived as inconsistent or lacking sufficient explanation, making it difficult to fully understand their choices. That is true. You look at Maxwell Lord, which at first he was all about trying to, first of all, if you have the wish stone. So here's the whole thing, right? You have this wishing, whatever, was it called the wish stone? The wish. First of all, if you make a wish, why are you wishing for oil? Yeah. You can have anything in the fucking world.
Have the actual gold itself come to you, you know?
Or whatever it is. The fact is, like, I want to be rich. And that's it. I want to be rich and famous. And if that's your only wish, then that's your only wish. But
you got to remember that he's trying to throw in the face of the people who are doubting him that there was oil in those things.
But there wasn't. That's the whole thing. He went to another fucking country to try to get their oil, which is stupid. Because if you're trying to prove that there was oil in the fields or whatever in the United States, then you would say, I wish for oil to be in those fields and there would be oil. But did he really?
Yeah, it said,
and
I think there was a
in the
scene
movie,
that
they're like, all of a sudden, all of our
wells are all showing up.
wells.
Yeah, I think
all
it
of our
was.
wells are filling
but
up.
then
with
he
oil.
had to. But then he had to go to like Saudi to get even more oil or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
Which it doesn't explain why.
Yeah,
One,
exactly.
And two,
yeah,
No, it's a
like,
poor motivation.
Right. Exactly. And two, it's like, all right, so why do you want oil? I mean, just say, fuck it. I want to be rich and famous. And you're rich and famous. Because everything was about his son, where he wants to prove to his son that he's not a loser. So if you would have just said, I wish to be rich and famous.
He wants to prove to himself that he's not a loser.
Well, he was putting his son as an excuse.
Exactly. That's the excuse.
That's the excuse. But in reality, he lost, perspective of all that. But it was just one of those things that was, and then Minerva's whole thing, the way she comes across, because you could tell that she's a woman. One, yes, she's a lonely woman, falls in love with men very easily, according to what she says. But at the same time, she just seems like a person that's still nice, because when she's walking home, she gives a plate of food.
A homeless guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, some food. That's somebody who has a heart and says, I see this guy all the time. Let me just give him some food or something like that. For her to become the way she did, there's no explanation of that.
I think the movie itself, it was supposed to be the crystal stone, but it wasn't very well explained in the film. It was just supposed to be like, okay, people will figure it out just because everybody turning evil and stuff. But it wasn't.
Her motivation just didn't seem like, okay, she wanted to be just like Diana and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was, I don't know. I understand somebody, you look up to somebody and you want to be just like them. But all of a sudden, if you're them, why do you have to turn into, a fucking evil person? That's the whole thing. And I
still want to be just like you, Robert.
Well, listen, everybody wants to be like Rob. No, but you know what? And there's that whole thing where, like, okay, Diana's trying to, Wonder Woman's trying to get rid of the stone, and she does not want to give up the power that she has. But the way she goes about it, I just felt like, why are you being? I mean, yes, the character of Cheetah is supposed to be, in the comic book, supposed to be an evil bitch, but the way this character started, I mean, I just felt that it wasn't.
Yeah, you're right. There's just not enough motivation.
There was just something not there.
It just threw it out and said people figured out. You kind of can figure it out, but you're not exactly sure. And they just left it out there that it's the stone doing it, which I'm assuming that's what it was, but it's never fully explained. It doesn't explain why she suddenly turns into an evil bitch. But
just make her evil from the start.
Exactly. I mean, there could have been other exposition that they could have done without and just replaced it, explaining why she'd become an evil bitch, Because
if they would have shown that, hey, even though she is nerdy and stuff like that, she still has she's still a bad person inside, because maybe she does things that you're like, damn, this person is just fucking unscrupulous. Right. Then you could go, oh, okay, now the stone enhanced a lot of that stuff. But to go from super nice to just being, evil.
Yeah.
And wanting power and wants to destroy Diana, the person that she actually admires, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I don't know. All right, so things that worked in this movie. I picked 3 things. Maybe you guys have more, but so Gal Gadot's portrayal of Wonder Woman once again brought strength, grace, and compassion to her role, which is true. She is still a compassionate person. She still has that strength and grace. I mean, of course, Gal Gadot being a beautiful woman, that comes across. So she effortlessly captured the character's heroic nature and made it an inspiring figure to root for. And then the other thing I also had was the soundtrack, of course, of Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is always great at what he does. It wasn't one of those soundtracks that I go, wow, that's amazing soundtrack that, stands on its own. But I mean, it is Hans Zimmer, and he knows how to actually execute, a great score. For anybody hearing this, and I should always say this in the beginning of any podcast, but I never do. But I always say, listen, if I'm covering an old movie, that means you saw it. And if you didn't see it, don't fucking come to the podcast yet. See the movie and then come back. But this is spoilers if you did not see the post credits. But you got Linda Carter showing up at the end of the movie. Was a nice touch.
Right.
When they showed her, I was like,
they kind of gave a backstory about it.
Right, they gave a little bit. I mean, was there anything else you guys, that you feel that was redeemable in this movie, or things that actually worked in this movie?
Okay, I'm gonna go with this. even though it's kind of a trope too.
Okay.
I felt like the fish out of water trope with now Steve being the one who's the fish out of water, as opposed to in the last movie it was Diana.
Right.
That was kind of funny. The montage was kind of funny.
Yeah, Diana was
And the treatment of Maxwell Lord by the people around him, like he's literally like called a loser in front of his son, which if you're a dad, that can make you feel like a million, like you're this big, you're like a
right.
ant.
But that's also a trope too, Frank. If you think about it, it's literally him. He made of all things P.T. Barnum look better, because literally that's what P.T. Barnum was doing, was pulling the wool over people's faces for a long time, especially with this, with the tankers that are in the water, and he still had those deeds on those. And the one that I would say, I know you guys a lot, Frank and I appreciate it, but at the very beginning, how Themyscira is being and how it was projected as, like, instead of it being attacked by anything from war or anything, at least we got to see that, and we got to see more characters like Robin Wright's character. We got to see Connie Nielsen. There were other characters in there, and then we got some redeemable little nods to the original movie, which with Lucy Davis's character as a secretary to Steve Trevor. Remember? There was images of her, so at least they try to reflect to the original movie to some degree with some pictures.
By the way, another nitpick I had before this, before trying to find something redeemable with this movie, is that Steve Trevor was a pilot in World War One. How the fuck does he know how to fucking fly a modern jet?
Movie magic.
He was just hitting toggles.
All right. I did.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I was waiting for it to eject there were some things redeemable about it. I thought the intro with Themyscira it started going in the right direction. I liked that whole scene in the beginning with the contests and stuff. And the mall scene, while it was campy, I could have seen how they could have fixed it and made it better. And I actually liked the scenes where Cheetah starts working with Wonder Woman's character at the museum.
Right.
And their kind of relationship going on there, and how she's kind of nerdy and stuff, even though that's not the character of Cheetah, it was still kind of interesting seeing that. And as it went along, I just lost interest in the characters because it kind of just fell apart as it kept going. And I wasn't crazy about Pascal's character. Like everybody said, he just wasn't fleshed out. He had no motivation for what he did throughout the entire movie. He just kept getting worse and worse. I don't know why they made him into such of like a over the top, almost comedic character.
Right.
Another thing I think they missed out on is the movie is set in the 80s. I think maybe there was one 80s song in there. And I think music is very important in movies. And if you're going to set a movie that's set in, and if you're going to set,
that was
I don't even remember that
song
from the 80s. I don't know.
It was
it sounded like a
Boingo Boingo. It sounded
like
to me
it
might have been or something, but I didn't hear
or retro idea.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing I'm saying is, like, I agree with Rob. There were pacing issues. That was on my list. I literally wrote that, pacing issues. And the other issue was there were a lot of extended scenes that could have been shortened down that just like extended out, just like offered nothing. And it just made it more and more boring as the movie went on. By the time the end came along with the big battle scenes, you were just like, I really don't care what happens here. I'm just looking at this and just so.
Yes,
sure. The movie was too long. That's also
could have turned off the half hour.
That was bad. Should have been an hour and a half.
What the fuck happened to this movie? So the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in the closure of a lot of theaters across the world, leading to a decrease in box office revenues. So this had a significant impact on the financial success of Wonder Woman 1984, which was released in December 2020, during a time when many theaters were still closed or operating at reduced capacity. So just so you guys know, Wonder Woman 1984 was released on HBO Max at the same time as it was released in theaters.
Right.
Which may have impacted the box office performance. I don't think it may. I think it did. First of all,
exactly.
Right.
It did, for the fact that you had limited seating even in 2020 when it came out. Nobody was allowed to go to the theater as much. Yeah. You had limited seating.
That and of course the competition of a lot of streaming services during the holiday season, which several other major releases vying for viewership and attention. So I remember the controversy on this thing. when Warner Brothers announced during the pandemic, instead of us releasing anything in theaters, everything's going to go directly to HBO Max. And while people were like, yay, fucking executives, actors, directors, studios, or at least people who financially supported these movies all lost their shit. Because that means no one's getting money. But Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins got paid up front. She got paid like 20 million or something. Like, I think both of them got paid something like 20 million. It was ridiculous. The payoff they got, because they were going to put this on HBO Max, you got a lot of actors who, of course, sometimes, because what happens with actors now, especially before the pandemic, a lot of the actors will say, okay, I'm going to charge 20 million, but instead of 20 million, I'll do it for 9, and I get a percentage of the the box office
on the back end.
Exactly. And a lot of people directors, producers, they all do things like that.
Scarlett Johansson got screwed with Black Widow based upon
but she sued she sued the shit out of Disney, and Disney paid her. So so here it is that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot get paid, but everybody else didn't. And then all the other movies that were coming out, because for people who don't know out there, sometimes the studio might say, listen, we'll support this movie that you want, and we're going to give you $100 million, right? But the movie is going to probably cost $150 million. There are private firms out there that will invest in these movies.
Right.
And of course, because they know they're going to get, the back end of it, and they're going to make more than that. So a lot of these small companies that lend money to studios or to, whoever it is, none of them got paid. So there was lawsuits all over the fucking place because of this. And this was the movie that really started it all. And of course, then, they started releasing all kinds of shit on HBO Max, but it's the reason why Warner Brothers got themselves in such a deep, deep hole when it came to their finances. There were also creative differences. So there were reports of creative differences between director Patty Jenkins and the studio over the direction of the film. However, it's unclear how much of these differences impacted the final product. Here's what I would have been told, and I got told this by somebody who was in the know. No one told Patty Jenkins anything except go do whatever the fuck you want.
Wow.
There was no
surprise.
Yeah, basically it was, how I've always said, DC needs a Kevin Feige. There was none back then. And she decided to do whatever the fuck she wanted. She disregarded, even though the character is still part of the Zack Snyderverse, she disregarded everything that Zack Snyder was doing or did in other films. So she went ahead and did her own thing. The other thing is, why the fuck the 80s? But that being said, okay, so script issues. There were also reports that the film script went through multiple rewrites, which could have, also contributed to the film's uneven pacing and disjointed narrative. And it's true. It just seems like it's like all four of us. I gave you, Patrick, I said, listen, you're going to do the beginning. Frank, you do the part of the middle. I do the part of the end. And Mark, you do the conclusion of the whole thing.
It's kind of like doing a Star Wars. You do the first part of the trilogy. You do the second one. Oh, wait, that did happen already.
That did happen already. And of course, a mixed reception. Finally, the film received mixed reviews from both critics and audiences, with some praising the themes and the performances, while others criticized its execution and lack of action scenes. So this could have impacted its overall box office performance. And of course, word of mouth is an important factor in determining the film's success. And of course, word of mouth was, hey, this sucked. So these are some of the things that happened with this movie behind the scenes. I am still stunned, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm still stunned that the same person that directed the first movie,
directed the second
this movie. Yeah. And I'm like, how do you get that wrong?
It was an entirely different tone in the movie too, man. Yeah. I mean, the movie was like the first movie was like, it was near perfect, man. It was like almost like it reminded me of the original Superman is what it reminded me of. And then you came out with this. It's just such a departure from the tone and the way the first one was filmed that it's just really kind of mind-boggling.
Correct.
Yeah.
Here's where we get to our fantasy picks. I want to start with the story, of course. Well, first of all, let's do this, because let's say that this movie. No, I'm not going to do that. But I was going to say, Yeah, what I was gonna say is like let's change, Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, Cheetah, and Maxwell Lord for other characters. But if that depends on the story we come up with. So I did this little thing with
Oh no.
God.
I did this little thing with ChatGPT, which, of course, for those who are out there, it is an AI that can actually
So what did Skynet say?
Skynet. So I asked the new Skynet to come up with we always try to come up with a better story, right? So I asked Skynet to actually come up with a better sequel. And it did, actually. It gave me two good ideas for a sequel, but I still wasn't satisfied with that. So on the third one, on the idea, I kind of fed it some more details. And to me, and you guys could, chime in on this too, but to me, I think that if they were going to do a sequel to a movie for a character that came out in World War One, and there was going to be more movies after that, what they could have done is say, okay, so the next step is why don't we do it in the 40s, like probably in World War Two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That could have been a motivation for her to say, I disconnected myself from humanity because all these motherfuckers, all they know how to do is go to war.
Right.
And no matter what I did, it wasn't enough.
Like you end the First World War only to have a second.
Only
World
to have
War.
a second world war, come up. For me, I thought that would have been a really cool thing. First of all, let's put it in World War II, or at least in that time era there, which means that you can actually have Steve Trevor come back because you make up, hey, Steve Trevor did survive the explosion. He probably jumped out in a parachute and then he decided, whatever, he could have been amnesia. It could have been the fact that he decided, hey,
that's another trope.
It is a trope.
Yeah.
Or so
he would have also had to have been like 20 years older, which would have put him in his mid 40s, late 40s.
Yeah, but
somewhere around
Chris
there.
Pine, with today's technology, you could fucking make him look a little older.
Yeah.
Age him up. He could look like his father, who is John in Chips.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so for me, I thought, okay, so if we made it like in World War II, so there's a new character in Wonder Woman that came out a few years ago. Her name is Yara Flor. Yara Flor is basically the new Wonder Woman, and she comes from Brazil, so she's Brazilian, and of course, she comes from the Amazon women that are in Brazil, and she is the one that's supposed to basically take up the mantle of Wonder Woman. I thought this would have been a great film to kind of maybe introduce a character like that. In the 40s, of course, we know that probably the Amazon forest was mostly unexplored compared to now, because now we don't, now we have, even though now it's still a lot of it's unexplored, but you have satellites and things like that can actually look a lot closer to things there. But at a time in World War II, we're like, hey, there is this tribe of women or Amazons in the forest of the Amazon, which are as strong or are part of the other Amazons, or whichever way you want to fucking make it up. But it would have been a great way to introduce that person into a story like this, and probably have, them trying to maybe fight Nazis. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that
I feel like I fought you before.
Yeah, exactly. To me, I think that would have been a better thing. Probably introduce, probably also have Atlantis come out.
There you go.
But
That
instead
would
of,
have been good.
yeah, that would have been, I think, cool. I think it's something like, let's say if we did Volko,
Jason Momoa?
which was played by William Dafoe.
Yeah.
You could establish him as, hey, and of course with de-aging technology, you could establish him as, hey, he probably helped or did something with Wonder Woman back then or something like that, to try to bring other parts of the DC world into Wonder Woman. So that was at least my thought on that. I do have a little story treatment here, and I'm not going to read that. But yeah, that was my thought. My thought was, hey, base it in World War II, because then if you did that, and if you did a third part, then you could maybe do that in the 80s, or maybe you could do it in the 90s, or whatever it is. Or do it now, where, hey, the way shit is in the real world, where we're probably at the verge of fucking World War III, her seeing a world war. Her seeing a first world war and a second world war, her dealing with the fact that how is it that no matter what I do and no matter how I try to intervene, man continues to go to war. what is it that I'm doing wrong? You could have had her, more like, what
that's
am
when
I?
you start saying, what's wrong with man?
Yeah.
It takes a woman to, because a lot of people is like, oh, if women ran the earth, it'd be a lot more peaceful, which is bullshit too. But
it's a cycle. It's cyclical. Everything happens over and over again. So they're
Right.
going to see the same thing with World War One, World War Two. That is why, and they always see that man, not just man and women. Because if, let's say, they stopped at World War One, they went to, let's say, 2057. We're in World War Four, let's say. It'd be the
Right.
same thing as she comes out of that island going, what's all this radiation going on? They go out to the America and they go, what the hell is going on here? And they'll realize it's the same thing. It happens. It's cyclical.
it comes right. So, and because of course, Diana tries to always look at humanity in the best possible way, and she wants to help. I'm sure there should have been a part where she's like, no matter how much help I do,
Right.
it just seems like it's never enough.
she
that's
feels
where
futility. Yeah.
Right. And that's where, hey, the fact that maybe her teaming up with the Justice League, her teaming up with Yara Flor, her teaming up with other characters that can try to help the world a lot better than what humanity is doing themselves. And not only that, but because they're all metahumans, and I'm sure a lot of people distrust the metahumans. Almost like in the X-Men, where the X-Men is like, listen, no matter how many times we save the world, they still fucking hate us. It could be something like that, where no matter how many times these people save the world and how many times they do things, they're always being questioned. Some people love them, while other people just fucking completely hate them because they have all this power. Just like, what's his name? Lex Luthor, who hates Superman because he has all that power.
And hair.
All right, so I don't know. Would this be like a good alternative? What do you guys think? Or what would be your ideas of maybe a good sequel?
I have a good idea for what would have been a direct sequel from the first one that we got from Patty Jenkins and crew.
Sure.
We could utilize what we got already as a platform. We could still use Minerva as being Cheetah. We could still use the little crystal phallic symbol that they find from a robbery and then going into their hands for investigations, because people are just looking for whatever. So in this case, she is more of she's a deep down deprived sexual being. So she wishes this thing, or this crystal thing,
Jesus Christ,
gives her,
see Rob's face,
gives her what she wants.
I'm just wondering where you're going with this, but go ahead.
And
I
then
just saw Rob's eyebrow.
And then she does change to Cheetah, but we don't get the Maxwell Lord involved in this at all. We don't have that. It's just a villain and a hero only. So Cheetah is out there trying to get money for her own greed to do what she wants. And then in her real life, when she switches back to Minerva, is like basking in the greed of this, but is even more sexualized. And then she sees Diana as a challenge. We exclude the whole Steve Trevor crap. Get rid of him. He's done. We already did that story. Why is she pining over somebody who's been dead for over 60 years?
Right.
And then on top of that, we could still have the memory of Themyscira and what she had to do back then. Her don't have to do the same exact scene in the very beginning, but just her reflecting on and being alone as she is still, but have a different, I could go into casting, but the thing is that by the end of it, she defeats Cheetah. Cheetah runs off and flees the country. And Wonder Woman did her thing. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Superhero, villain.
That's it.
Villain
Adversity.
Goes for the wealth and the greed of full sexuality amongst men and using them, and Wonder Woman intervenes. They have a big battle at the end. Villain flees. That's all you really need. It's a comic book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go to casting, the casting couch. What, if we had to change Gal Gadot, I mean, I know Gal Gadot has been established as, of course, the face of Wonder Woman now, and a lot of people love her for that and everything. But if we had to pick somebody else, Who do you think will make a good Wonder Woman?
As in
Past-
looks,
Past, present.
I have two that would work out best. Colby Smulders, who we know from the
Okay.
Marvel series. She is I forget what her agent name is from Shield, but
Right.
she works with Fury. Or Lauren
Agent Hill.
Cohan, who was in The Walking Dead as Maggie Grace.
Well, for me, I always thought she would have been a good choice. Probably not now, but I don't know if I mean, I remember, Rob, you were a fan of Lost, weren't you?
Yes.
Ooh.
I always thought Evangeline Lilly would have been a perfect Wonder Woman, especially, I mean, I don't know if you saw Lost, but if you ever saw her arms and the way she was built in Lost, you could tell she
Back
worked out,
then.
man. Back then, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Not with the haircut
She's
she's
washed
got now.
She's still.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I always thought, I mean, she also had the, I think she had like greenish blue eyes in that, which goes in line with what Wonder Woman looked like and the hair and everything. I always thought she would have been a perfect Wonder Woman.
True.
So,
I think that maybe Jennifer Beal.
Okay.
Ooh.
Maybe Jennifer Beal, because she's already established herself as a
Badass.
actress who can do action. Right.
Blade Trinity.
Yeah. That's like, she's like probably the best part of Blade Trinity.
Yes.
Right.
That says a lot.
yeah.
But I think she could have done it.
Okay. My pick on that would be, I'm kind of torn between two. Either a young, and I hate to make it sound, I hate that word, because especially with women, if they're not young, that they don't have any value, which is not true. But
I said, I didn't think of it that way until you said that.
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
she still looks young and she still could get away with it.
she still looks great. No, but I'm saying, if you ever saw her like in what is it, Devil's Advocate, she has that very young look to her, which I think, especially when she was coming out of Themyscira to, meet the world and stuff like that, it's good to see that, that type of, like, she looked very young and naive and stuff like that, but she's still a great actress. And I think she's, of course, a much better actress than Gal Gadot, but that's just me. Of course, Charlize Theron has a larger body of work, but yeah, I don't know, you dye her hair black or something like that, I think she would actually be pretty good. Or the
Atomic
other
Blonde will represent that her 100%. Think about it.
Or even
or you're looking at somebody like maybe like either Kate Beckinsale or
there you go. That would probably do it.
Or Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
That would be good too. Or Rachel Weisz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So which of those do you think that we could put on our
we have so many now.
So we have what did we say? We said so on my case, Charlize Theron, Rachel Weisz, or Kate Beckinsale.
I said Evangeline Lilly from.
You said Evangeline Lilly.
The Lost Days.
The Lost Days. Frank, you said who was it?
Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel. And what do you say, Mark?
I gave a couple Lauren Cohan and somebody else I forgot, but Maggie Grace is another one. Or you could just replace, do Lauren Cohan, Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
So out of all of these, who do you think would be the perfect one out of those? That represents her, not as a first of all
looks wise, but as well
looks wise, and
acting.
Also has the acting chops to bring Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman character, and her persona of Diana Prince to a much higher level than what Gal Gadot.
And you got to think Diana Prince as well as Wonder Woman, because it's still two different characters. So that's very hard. But I could see where Rob's coming from with Charlize Theron. But I could also see it with Lauren Cohan for me. But
right.
That's a lot of help.
All right. That's why it's up to the listeners to decide. We will put a poll out for you.
We will come up with our own stuff, and then the listeners can then, write back and tell us, no, you're wrong. I think this person, and this is why.
Well, out of all of everybody's, I would say, as we just discussed, I would go with Rob. So for what I had, which would be Charlize Theron.
How about you guys?
trying to think.
I
of
actually
I like Kate
Mark's-
Beckinsale too.
Right. That's
Yeah.
a good one. But I think Mark's choice of Colby Smuller was actually good too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty good. Also,
All right. Well, we have a Colby Smulders, we got a Kate Beckinsale, and we got 2 Charlize Theron. So Charlize Theron will be. Oh, Charlize. I hear she's very difficult to work with.
Yes.
At least that's
What I heard too. When I
Yeah.
covered Atomic Blonde with my
Yeah.
friend Wendy, I read some things during the set.
she's a big time method actress.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hear from what they say is that when she gets into her characters, she's very serious about it. But when she did, what was it? Snow White,
Yep.
where she was supposed to be, like just this mean, that she went very method and she would talk to the crew exactly the same way.
wow.
I was like, holy shit. Didn't anybody there go, dude, hey, fucking relax, okay?
I just be very gassy as I walk by her. That usually pisses women off.
There you go. Have a little bit of that.
Alrighty. Thank you, Mark, for that one.
There you go. I'm taking notes on that.
Yeah, there you go. It works. It works. Trust me.
Let's say if we were going to replace the 4 main characters in the original movie, who would you have as Steve Trevor?
Trevor.
George Clooney.
I think a young,
Yes, that's what I mean.
I think a young ER George Clooney would be great.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
He could be good.
Who else?
Scott
Trying to
Eastwood.
think who else. Yeah, he might be good. Yeah. I haven't seen
Liam,
him
how about
much.
Liam Helmsworth?
Ugh.
Too big.
Too big? What do you mean
Yeah.
too big?
It's
Too
like-
tall?
no, he's just
Liam, not Chris. Not
Not
Chris.
Chris.
okay.
Not
Oh,
Chris.
Liam.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chris
not
Hemsworth.
The
Chris
younger
Hemsworth.
brother.
the younger. Okay.
Not the one who has Parkinson's now, or not, what
Oh.
is it?
Parkinson's.
Alzheimer's.
Oh,
Oh.
really? Okay.
Have you seen Jack Reacher on Amazon?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think
Alan
I know
Rich.
what
Okay.
I think he's huge for Jack Reach. I mean, for Trevor. He'll fucking overpower Wonder Woman.
Why not John Krasinski?
I think that had actually been a good one.
He's more of a
Him
superhero type.
overpowering.
John Krasinski would be a really good idea. It's
I think who else?
We're taking away from Patrick. Patrick's
I'm
gonna
trying
come
to
up with
think.
one.
Tom Cruise. No,
No.
No, he's
the problem with
Eh.
Tom Cruise that even though I think because Tom Cruise played a pilot before, but
Yeah.
he would take away from the film in the sense of like first of all, he'll take over the film because it won't be
Yes.
it won't be the Wonder Woman movie. It would be the Steve Trevor movie.
right. Exactly.
And he do all his own stunts.
Yeah, and he would never play he would never play second fiddle to somebody else. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
But who did you say? You said Krasinski?
Who, me?
John Krasinski.
John
who said John
Krasinski?
Krasinski?
That was Mark. I think that's actually a good idea. I like that one. John
Okay.
Krasinski, I think, would be pretty good. Ted
Okay.
Lasso would be awesome.
Ted Lasso. Who put that in there?
Ooh, what?
What's his name? What's his name?
Jason Sudeikis?
Jason
I don't
Sudeikis.
think so. If you're going for a comedy version, sure.
That'll work, especially with the
Jason.
mustache. He's
And
got
you're
the
telling me
mustache.
that this fucking 1984 wasn't a comedy at some point? Because at some point you sat
That's
there and
funny.
laughed and you go, I can't believe I'm watching this shit.
When they did the montage.
You're right.
So-
Maybe go with Chris Pratt. He might be.
No, he's too blonde.
Well, have you
cares?
seen?
Too
Have you seen the
blonde.
comic book? The comic book, he is super blonde. Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Chris Pratt would be great.
Yeah.
If Chris Pratt wasn't doing something, I think Chris
Yeah.
Pratt would actually be pretty good.
No,
I'm
he's Woody
voting-
Schwarzenegger.
I'm gonna vote for Chris Pratt.
Okay, you vote for Chris Pratt.
All right. So, what about you, Mark? Who are you doing?
I said Clooney or Krasinski. I'll say Krasinski over Clooney at this point. Oh.
Okay. Frank.
I'm gonna stick with Alan Richardson.
Okay.
There you go.
And then you're still going with Patrick. You're still going with Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. Yeah.
Okay.
Why
All
not?
right.
There you go.
All right. So Chris Pratt takes it.
Chris Pratt.
Because Rob said so.
Well, because it's a vote, and there's 2 Chris Pratts, and there's only one of each of you guys. But this is why we have an audience that will tell us, hey, I agree with Frank, or I agree with Mark, or I agree with whoever it is that,
Yeah, we don't have to agree even on ourselves.
Right. So the great thing about that is that we'll have the audience actually let us know if
And they
was
can
right.
put their own.
And then they could put their own. So, all right, Cheetah. So I thought Kristen Wiig was
she was too old.
No, I don't think she was too old.
Is she too old? How old is she? I gotta look at that.
I don't know. I think she
Time
looked
when
fine.
she made this one, she's at least in her 40s.
I still think she looked fine. I don't think it's an age thing.
Oh my
Jesus,
goodness.
Mark.
She looked good.
Actually, she's 49. She's only a year younger than me. Okay.
Oh wow. But still, I think
I'm
she looked
old.
I think listen,
She looked
some
good.
some people age well while others crack, so she's aging very well.
Yeah, I'd leave it in, but I'm just
I wouldn't kick her, right? I wouldn't kick her out of bed.
yeah, exactly. I'd
jeez.
leave it in when I'm there.
She had to go there.
Yeah, we all did.
My problem with Chris Pratt is that Chris Pratt with her is that
She's too much from a comedic background, in my opinion.
that, and the fact that maybe she is, how can I say? I think because we've seen her in so many comedies,
Yeah,
and we also see her. Don't get me wrong. I think there's actors and actresses out there that have been in comedic roles that all of a sudden they do a serious role, and you go, "Holy shit! This person took this to a whole new level."
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she was able to do that with this.
Well, yeah, exactly. Actually, let's touch back onto Ted Lasso right now.
Okay.
Mr. Sudeikis. Thinking about him, he came from a comedic background. He came from SNL, just like Kristen Wiig. Now,
Right.
there was a movie that I actually had to do a review for a magazine online, and it had, of all things, the Princess Diaries herself. I forget her name.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. And Jason Sudeikis was in there as part of the main cast. He was part of, like, it's her and him and a bunch of other people. It was called Colossal.
Right.
Now it's a very, very
Yes.
dark comedy.
Right.
And he plays it perfectly. And it's not,
Yeah, it's really good.
and it doesn't really come off as comedic. Now, certain people who are comedic actors can come from it and do well with serious roles, and we've seen that. All right,
We've seen it a lot. Chris Pratt is one of them. Jason Sudeikis is another one. Krasinski's another one.
Kevin
Will Smith is another
Spacey.
one. Kevin Spacey. I mean, you got a ton of fucking people that were comedians.
Yes.
That
Went
are doing
into
amazing
dramatic.
serious roles.
Yeah,
I mean, what's his name? Eric Bana used to he started his career as a comedian.
Yeah.
And of course, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but Robin Williams.
Yes.
Look at Robin Williams. Now,
Yeah,
Robin
Good Will
Williams,
Hunting.
the biggest comedy genius of of all time.
Yeah.
Whenever he decided to do a serious role, you're glued to the fucking screen because you're like, holy shit, his
1 hour
performance is
photo and all
amazing.
those films,
Right.
yeah.
1 hour photo, yeah.
Yeah, but she has yet to, I would say,
transition to a perfect role
that will actually transition
Mhm.
her to that point, and I don't think this was it.
Yeah.
I like her. I think especially when she came out in Bridesmaids, I thought she was fucking funny as shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it
Well,
was
she
just
did
amazing.
the roller derby kind of movie with Juno, whatever.
Juno, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know which one you're
Elliot
talking about.
Page.
That was a good movie.
So
She
who
was in
we
that.
by the way, I forgot to say because I forgot to mention but we already picked Charlize Theron, but the other one I had in mind was Jamie Alexander, who really has a face that looks like the comic book character.
Jamie
a lot.
Alexander.
She did
Sith.
Sith.
Lady Sif. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yes.
Oh, just for Wonder Woman, right?
For Wonder
Yeah.
Woman, yeah.
No,
That's
No,
what
this is
well, no, that's what
for Wonder Woman.
yeah, for Wonder Woman, I was thinking about her,
Right, yeah.
and I forgot about her, but we already picked Charlize Theron.
Yeah, but Jamie Alexander's really good.
Yeah. So for Cheetah,
All right, so she actually could possibly even play Wonder Woman, but I think she'd be better as a villain. Katrina Law.
She comes out in some kind of a, I don't know, FBI show now or something like, or used to come out in FBI show or something.
Yeah.
She was the daughter of on the Arrowverse. She was the daughter of Ra's al Ghul.
Ghul. Yeah.
Yeah. She could be a cheetah.
Yeah, she can.
Yeah.
I have somebody.
Who do you have?
You're gonna laugh at this one. Jessica Jones herself, Kristen Ritter.
Ooh.
She has the sex appeal and the slender look. I could see her acting like that within a fight.
That's a really good choice. Yeah, I think so too. And she did a phenomenal job in Jessica Jones.
Oh yeah, and she's coming back again.
And
for
she has.
Did you ever watch her in Don't Trust That Bitch in Apartment 23?
I love that show.
Something like that.
No, I never saw
She was
that.
awesome.
Well, I never got to see that, but she does have this look on her face like she could be a bitch.
She's got that resting bitch face.
And and I've seen her in interviews, and she seems like the nicest person and just like a really, really sweet person. But she could really play that. I think she could really play somebody of kind of an evil character. My thought on that, huh?
She's very nice personally. I've met her a couple of times.
My thought would be Eva Green.
Okay.
Evergreen has played Evergreen has played a bad person before, and I think that she can probably bring some gravitas to that character.
There you go.
Yeah. So
how
about you, Patrick?
I'm trying to think who could possibly play. It's like I mean, from what I was told, Cheetah's supposed to be a very sexualized character, right? Correct. But still somebody who can play kind of sinister. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe Natalie Dormer.
You know what? That's a really good
that is a good pick.
How about Sophie Turner?
That might work too.
It might work, yeah.
Because the way she looked in Game of Thrones towards the very end, which I was like, yo, she's looking pretty hot. But she also has the great thing about Sophie Turner is that she has these beautiful eyes where you could transition that into a cat look and her being very, how can I say, very seductive in that sense.
Yeah. Well, Natalie Dormer definitely has cat eyes. I don't know if you've seen her eyes. They're kind of.
Oh no, her eyes are gorgeous. Yeah. So I really like. I think that choice.
That's good.
Natalie Dormer. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna vote for her.
I'll go with Dormer.
Dormer. All right, so the Dormers have it.
I'm sticking with Ritter.
Ritter would have been great too, but 3 Natalie Dormers and 1 Ritter. Ritter's getting squashed.
Okay.
All right, the next one is Maxwell Lord.
Oh god.
Oh jeez.
I already have an idea. Jeez, you're gonna laugh at this one because the guy has such a comedic attitude anyway. But I think he could pass off. I think he could pass it off. Mr. Chandler Bing himself.
Oh jeez.
Matthew Perry.
Really?
Younger.
Rob is like, what? He says younger, the younger one.
The younger version.
On. So the reason I think that's actually a good choice is because, again, the character's supposed to be kind of a goofy comedic character in the comic books, a likable character, and I think that
a young
Perry
Matthew
can actually
Perry.
Young Matthew Perry could do something like that. My thought, because of seeing him in a commercial that made him funny, but he also comes off very serious and stuff like that, was John Hamm.
I was just thinking John Hamm. Man.
I got one.
Go
ahead.
Ty Burrell.
Ooh, yes.
Because of the part that he played in the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yep, I was going to say that. Yeah. That works.
He was such a dick. You were waiting for him to die.
He could go comedic easily, and then he could go dark in an instant. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He was in Dawn of the Dead, the
Modern
remake.
Family.
The Dead, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that definitely.
Yeah, I can see it too.
He does play smarmy, like
that gets my vote. That gets my vote.
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, like I said, I do like my my John Hamm. How about Matthew McConaughey?
Nah.
No?
He's not all right with me.
Okay.
He's not all right with me.
Boom.
Hey.
Keanu Reeves?
No, I don't know.
No. What, dude?
Whoa.
It's like
there will be oil in those.
Yeah. All All right. I mean, I'm gonna stick with John Hamm.
Okay.
And anybody else wants to vote for that, or you want to vote for somebody else?
I already said I'm going for Frank's.
All right.
And well, I mean, I was going to choose John Hamm too because I admit that was a good one. But then I heard Ty Burrell. I thought that was a good one also.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with
Ty
just
Burrell?
talking. No, I'm gonna no. I have to choose mine. I haven't chosen mine, have I?
Oh no, you haven't. Well,
No,
didn't
you
you say you
haven't.
were gonna choose? Didn't you say you were gonna pick John Hamm?
I was, but now I have a backup.
Oh,
you have a
there you
backup.
go. There
Okay.
you go. All right.
Let's
So, and actually, Mark just mentioned him recently, just a little while ago. So I was thinking of Jason Sudeikis
Oh, okay.
because
Yeah,
he
I
can
could
definitely
see
play
that too.
comedic and
Evil. Dark.
evil at the same time.
Yeah.
I can see that too.
But I'm still staying
So we
with
got Ty
Burrell.
Burrell, Jason Sudeikis, or John Hamm.
On him.
Well, you know what? Like, if you have to do comedic, I would say that just Jason Sudeikis or Ty Burrell is gonna be
Yeah.
those two.
I like Ty Burrell. I've seen him in that role where he's like a super asshole but funny at the same time and Dawn of the
Exactly.
Dead, like
Yeah.
Frank said. So
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Ty Burrell too.
I'm gonna
so.
go with Ty Burrell too. Good
All
choice,
right.
man.
Good,
Good choice,
Frank.
dude. I'm sure Frank was like, God damn it, I haven't gotten one yet.
No, man, I'm just happy you're playing.
So that's if we were only gonna replace that cast. If
Yes.
we
Right.
were gonna go with, like, let's say that story of World War II and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Would Charlize Theron still be the same? You know what? For this movie, I'll choose Charlize Theron, but probably for the World War II one, I'll probably do Jamie Alexander. Oh, unless you guys want to keep Charlize Theron. Probably keep the same actress, I think.
Yeah, I would say to
Yeah.
keep continuity.
How about Yara Flor? So here's the whole thing. Yara Flor is supposed to be Brazilian.
Mhm.
And I was looking at a few Brazilian actresses, some that I've heard, some that I never heard before, of course, to try to keep it with, the same.
Jordana Brewster.
From Fast and Furious.
Yeah, Fast and Furious.
I think she would work. Or if not,
Brewster.
Morena Baccarin.
Well, it would have to be an extremely young Barat because Yara Flor is basically almost a teenager.
Yeah, then it would be Jordana Brewster.
Yeah.
She could still
We
portray
don't-
younger. A younger Morena Baccarin would be great. But I would actually lead more towards Morena Baccarin than I would Jordana Brewster based upon her, how she would pose. And
She doesn't
I'm
come
leaning
off.
more towards Morena Baccarin though, but a young version.
If you see Yara Flor the way she's been drawn,
She looks like Ava Mendes, what she looks like.
Yes.
yeah, like on the little picture that I have in there, yeah, she does look like Eva. But this artist, I forgot her name. She's a fucking phenomenal artist, by the way. She draws women very sexy, and she definitely knows how to just kind of bring out the beauty of the characters very well.
Who's the artist?
Jolie Jones. Have you ever heard of Jolie Jones?
No.
No.
Patrick?
Hmm.
So she
Nope. Haven't heard of her.
Yeah, she's done stuff for Marvel. She's done stuff for DC, Dark Horse. Yeah, if you look at her artwork is actually really nice. Yeah, it has a very sometimes
Like almost Adam Hughes style. in
well,
there.
yeah, she does have a pinup
hair.
style, but she
Yeah.
also has more also very fashion type of
Right.
style
Yeah,
too.
Right.
Yeah, it
So when
is.
you look at the cover of the Yara Flor, because I think she's the one that came up, she's the creator of Yara Flor. When you look
Right.
at the way she made her, you could see, still young. And this is
Right.
only the cover. Like, I actually bought the first issue that she came out in.
Right.
In it, she's very young, she's very spunky. She doesn't want to go by the rules sometimes,
Right.
with the whole Wonder Woman thing. So she has an energy about her, which I like a lot.
Right.
And so that's why I was like, okay, so what actress can portray that type of energy, being young and
Right.
being, still being a very spontaneous, independent girl, but at the same
Right.
time being a girl that has to figure it all out.
Yeah.
So
True.
Right.
yeah. But yeah, I like her artwork a lot. Why don't we do this? The audience out there is going to pick this one for it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna stand by my Morena Baccarin, a young Morena Baccarin.
Let
And
me tell
then-
you, that's a woman I'm in love with.
Oh, same
Also.
here. I loved her since Gotham. Deadpool.
I
three.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
Deadpool.
she is.
No, I loved her before that. Loved her since V.
Yeah, V. I said V.
I loved her in Firefly.
Oh,
Firefly.
yeah, she
Oh,
made
I
a cameo.
remember.
On
That's when I
Firefly,
first
yeah.
saw her.
She's
You know what? I think Morena Baccarin in her Firefly days. Yes, I could see that.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Let
Well,
the fans take a vote. You put that poll together, and we should move on to the next part.
yeah.
It happens.
Volko. Who do you think could play Volko besides Willem Dafoe? That's the Atlantean that if we actually did, like, let's say the story of World War II and Atlantis was in there.
But geez, it's like Willem Dafoe doesn't look anything like the character in the book, man.
Yeah. So if you look at the character in the book and
Yeah.
then you look at somebody out there, who do you think?
All right, you're talking about
Volko.
the mentor to Aquaman. Okay,
The mentor to Aquaman.
Aquaman. But
Okay, I have some.
Volko.
I already have one.
Okay.
All right,
Here
go
we
ahead
go.
and give yours.
Here we go. Go.
Go gadget. Gary Oldman.
What is it with you and Gary Oldman?
Put him there.
I
all
don't
the
think we've had one podcast yet where he hasn't brought up Gary Oldman.
Really?
Oh God.
I didn't think about that.
Mark,
It's always Gary Oldman.
Mark, you have your set of actors and actresses
Yeah,
that you don't deviate from.
I guess so. Holy shit! All right.
No, it's
all
cool because listen, I do the same thing. Sometimes I start to like recommend actors that are the same
Yeah.
all the time, and it's like, all right, I know there's more of them out there, but those are the ones
Yeah.
I really like. So
Right.
Yeah, you go with the ones that you really like. I got you. Same here, I guess.
Right. What do you got? What do you got, Frank?
A young Brian Blessed
Brian Blessed. Yeah.
Okay.
from Flash Gordon.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was Bolton.
Bolton.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, man.
you know what? So I went ahead and I decided to ask ChatGPT, and this is
Oh,
what
you
Oh
this,
my
cheated.
goodness!
this
What
is
did
what
Skynet say?
It's funny. This is what it came up with. First of all, it came up with Gary Oldman.
Oh God.
There you go.
It heard you.
It heard you. It came up with Christoph Waltz.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It also did Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads?
Mikkelsen.
Okay, cool.
Mads, I'm good with
Yeah, same here.
anything with Mads.
Mark Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Liam
Mark
Neeson.
Strong, Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
I can see that.
Jeremy Irons.
Yep, I see that.
Ralph Fiennes.
I'm looking at a photo of this Volko guy, so I gotta.
Keep in mind that this would be a man that looks, if he's going to look exactly like the comic book.
It's
Uh-huh.
not going to be Michael Fassbender who they recommend here,
No.
or maybe Christoph Waltz if he gained some weight.
If I'm
Yeah,
looking at
that's
this,
a lot.
yeah. So
So Volko from, let me see, from
Yeah, I googled
Aquaman.
it because they had.
he looks a little bit like a guy who used to be in shape, just a little bit overweight.
and
He's
then lost
bald.
some hair. Yeah,
He lost some hair. He's got a goatee, but he looks like he can still handle himself. He looks like a tough guy. So
Right. I know that
Got a
in,
ponytail too.
stocky, yeah.
yeah, he looks stocky. He had, and at least the one I'm looking at right now, he has a beard. Interesting.
so you're
All right.
basically telling me Keanu Reeves.
Well, Keanu Reeves is not stocky. Keanu Reeves is skinny.
Yeah, he's thin.
Well, didn't you
He
see?
goes-
The Face the Music when he got fat.
Well, yeah, but 90% of the times he's usually
Yeah.
skinny. But no, he is. He's a balding
mean,
man.
I'm looking at some pictures, and some pictures this guy looks a little tubby. Some pictures the guy looks like he's still in shape for his age, not
Right.
fat, not kind of like just still in shape. So it can go either way. So it's
I
don't
like
think that's a
I
deal.
like the concept drawing they did
Yeah.
for Aquaman on him, and they
Yeah.
had like different outfits, and there's one of them that looks really cool.
Yeah. All right. So I got one for Volko. Well, actually, I got two. I don't know which one to decide on. I'm going to throw them out there. First one would be Stephen Lang,
Oh, okay.
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 and the other one would be a Sean Connery, probably from the mid 80s.
Oh wow, I like that one.
Yeah.
What? Because she's gonna go back to the rock
Mhm.
in the 90s.
I'm
There you
from
go,
I'm
90s.
from Atlantis,
Exactly.
even though I have a Scottish accent.
My name is Ramirez from Highland.
Right.
Yeah,
That was
Highlander, that's right.
always the funny part. Is like, oh, Ramirez, yeah, but you sound Scottish. You don't sound Spanish. You know what? I'm going to pick that one.
Connery?
At least, yeah, that's going to be at least for me. My vote is Sean Connery.
I have to go with
Frank,
that
well,
too.
who do you have?
I'm okay with going Sean Connery.
Yeah,
Sean Connery also?
I'm going with Connery. Yeah,
All right, we got Sean.
gotta go with
Sean.
Connery. My father would love it. He loves him as Bond.
Face it, it's like Sean Connery could probably play anything, man.
Not anymore. He's dead.
I know, not now. Actually, he probably still could.
I think, honestly, I think he could still play somebody even dead and still do a phenomenal job.
With
today's
ChatGPT.
Hologram.
AI.
AI, yeah.
That's we will get to a point in the future where we're like,
Less than 2 hours.
I think like
We've
100.
already done it.
I think 100 years in the future.
Mhm.
I'm predicting this, even though none of us are going to be around for it. But I'm predicting that 100 years from in the future, you're going to be able to go to see a movie, and then once you get at home
Mhm.
to see your copy of the movie, you're like, can you substitute that with Sean Connery? And boom, all of a sudden your movie is going to have Sean Connery in it instead of the
Wow.
actual
Face swap and voice swap.
face swap, voice swap, and acting. Also, the way he acts and everything.
You know what I see for the future? I see for the future where you can go either on your smart TV or on your computer. You can type in, I want to see this type of movie. And it creates the movie for you on the spot. And you can choose what actors are in it.
I was just going to say that.
That's a holodeck.
I was
Pretty much.
just going to say that. I was going to say, I bet you in 100 years from now, studios are basically not going to make their own movies anymore.
It's people's imagination.
Don't doubt it, man.
I think people are going to be like, you know what? Fuck that. I could just make my own movie. Or they're going to make, or knowing that people can make their own movies. And that's going to, the implication of that is going to be huge, because think about that. If you could do that,
yeah,
and all of a sudden put it on YouTube, here's my creation of this.
Yeah.
The implications are going to be huge, because everybody's going to have their own versions. Some people are going to come out with way better versions than the studios. So I could see where the studios would be like, we can't do that at all. All right, guys. So right now, in order for us to make the movie better, I think we all agree that, first of all, the 1980 kind of theme sucks, especially for a sequel. I came up with a treatment for World War II. I'm doing it after World War II or doing it during World War II, just so Diana herself can see how humanity is just not learning their lessons, even from the first war, and what she could do about it. And we replace, of course, the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if we replace the characters with the original, for the original movie, we said Charlize Theron for Wonder Woman, Chris Pratt for Steve Trevor, Natalie Dormer for Cheetah, and Ty Burrell for Maxwell Lord. If we did the World War II one that I just talked about, same thing with Charlize Theron, but Yara Flor will be Morena Baccarin, and then of course Volko would be Sean Connery. And if anybody's out there listening, again, the treatment that we were talking about is having the sequel take place during the 1940s, during World War II, and her meeting Yara Flor, which is next person who would take the mantle of Wonder Woman, and have it take place in Themyscira, Brazil, or the Amazon jungles of Brazil, Greece, Atlantis, and of course have the best villains that you could have, Nazis. So so that was one of the things. So guys, as we said before, I'm including this little section into this podcast, and is, what scenes of this movie will you use for a home theater demo? I went through this movie several times to try to find if there was anything in here that can actually, I could go, hey, this is a shitty movie, but this one scene,
the mall
holy
scene.
crap.
The mall scene is the only thing from beginning to end, from the beginning of the theft till she saving the day, and that would probably be the only good thing.
That's the only good thing for you. All right.
Or maybe the very beginning with the flashback, and that's about it.
I thought that too. I thought maybe the Amazon games, the mall part. I don't know.
That was it's pretty much its trailer.
Right.
Everybody when it first came out. But my first go-to is like the Themyscira whole flashback sequence, and that would be it. After that, it would have to be the final battle without the bad CG from Cheetah.
I would probably pick the car chase road battle scene in Cairo.
You would pick that one.
Okay,
All right.
Probably that. Yeah,
I could see that. I mean, that had some good sound. Like, I mean, I got a really nice. Yeah, I have a good sound system, and that wasn't bad. The flying sequence.
Was that Cairo or was it? It was in Saudi.
Cairo.
Right?
I think it was Cairo.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. It was Saudi.
The flying sequence, there were some really nice parts in there. Visually, it has some really cool parts. Even though I destroyed that entire scene because of all the nitpicking I did, but
with the fireworks scene,
with the fireworks and stuff like that. Yeah, those are two. With the fireworks and things like that, I think in a really cool Dolby Atmos theater, you hear the fireworks in different parts of the, with different speakers and all over the place. Yeah, and it does give it a really good, cool sound. Visually, I wasn't as impressed, but for the sound part, I was. The visual one that was actually impressive, I think, was the opening for me. But,
Themyscira. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
The one I would pick, is Wonder Woman dropping the criminals on the car. I think that crunching of the car,
really?
The
crunching of the just that one scene with the
just awesome. Like
so if you
really felt that one,
it's like, listen, you guys came over. I want to show you some really cool stuff with my new home theater system. It's just one scene. It's like 2 seconds, but you'll love it. And it's like crunch. Did that not sound real to you?
Did you feel it? The bones.
Did you feel it? Yeah. You would.
You feel the bones crunching?
You would think that a movie like this, or you would think with the way they fell on that car and completely caved in that car, there should have been brain matter all over the place.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
But
I mean, they didn't just dent the roof. They completely
they completely destroyed it. Right.
They concaved the entire car. So, all right, guys. So so that's actually our those are our picks for the movie to try to make it better. Did we make it better? Do you guys have anything out there that could make this movie better? Let us know. Yeah. You can find us on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition at gmail.com, or you can find us also on Instagram and Facebook. We'll soon have a Patreon. So for those of you guys who want to support us and keep this thing going, that'll be great. I will soon let everybody out there know when that Patreon page will be up. Other than that, the other 3 guys I have here, where can I find you, Mark?
Well, you can find me on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. All you have to do is go to piratecoreentertainment.com. You'll find me on Panels to Pixels podcast. Right now, that's not on the website, but you could easily just go to Panels to Pixels or Facebook.com/Panels to Pixels.com or whatever you want to call it. Right. Adrenaline Cinema Podcast or on the Podcastica.com site as well, since I do Sandman Cast, and I'll be on a variety of Podcastica.
Fantastic. How about you, Patrick?
Patrick Reilly Art on Instagram.
So you guys go out there, look at his stuff. Yeah. Send him,
it's really good.
Send him rude comments and whatever you want.
Rude comments.
No, actually,
saying that.
Purchase his stuff.
Actually, if you can, definitely support what Patrick does. And also, Patrick, do you do commission work or you don't?
I used to. I haven't done it in a while. I'm just busy with my normal stuff right now, my 9 to 5 job. So,
all right.
But I mean, occasionally I do, and I'm doing a couple of comic covers that will be probably coming out soon. So I got those on the back burner also. So,
cool,
nice.
Can you tell us who?
Not right now, not until they actually announce it coming out. So I don't want to do anything.
Okay.
But I will say, I just finished a cover. And it's for the same company. It's Opus Comics, and it's Frank Frazetta's Dawn Attack, which issue 4 should be out this coming month. Okay. And then I'm probably going to be doing a couple of other covers in the upcoming months for them. So
Fucking fantastic,
Awesome.
man. Yeah, you guys got to see his work. And if he's willing to do commission work, email him. I mean, and see what,
Check it out.
Yeah, check him out and stuff like that. I got some of his work. As a matter of fact, I have one that I used on a t-shirt, Darth Mota.
Darth Mota. I love it.
He gave that to me. I don't know, like you gave
I just saw that pop up on our Facebook just recently because it was like you must have posted a year ago, a couple of years ago, and it
probably
popped up
so.
And it said something like that.
And I gave to Zach a t-shirt for his for Christmas with Darth Mota. He goes, I'm gonna be carrying an image of you as a Jedi. And I'm like, why not?
Why not?
Why not? But it was actually you did that drawing for me, I think about 20 years ago or something. And he just, guys, he spontaneously just did this at shits and giggles. I think we were
working at what was it, a Trapezoid at the time or something?
We were working for a company out there, that we were both we were both graphic designers and stuff like that. And he just like, was sitting there just drawing, and he goes, here you go, dude. And I looked at this, I was like, I fucking hate you, man, because he just came up with this just amazing, funny drawing. I went ahead and I inked it and I colored it. And but yeah, it was just funny. And then of course, our good old friend here, Frank. Where can we find you, Frank?
Instagram, it's Frank Rodriguez.
Frank Rodriguez. So yeah, if you guys look him up, say hello to him, do all those things.
Yep.
Don't be rude.
Please.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I thank everybody out there for also being on the podcast. And again, let us know what you think. Let us know what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. And hopefully we'll see you guys again. So thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.